In the vast tapestry of history, some mysteries are so profound they feel like they belong to another world. What if I told you there's a hidden connection linking the poet Li Bai, the ancient ruins of Sanxingdui, the Southern Silk Road, and even the Buddha himself? It sounds like a fantasy novel, right? But deep beneath the fertile plains of Sichuan, China, lies a civilization that might just tie them all together. A civilization so advanced, so bizarre, that even today, only 2% of it has been unearthed. What secrets are hiding in the other 98%? They might just rewrite everything we thought we knew about human history. Our story begins, as many great discoveries do, by pure accident. In the spring of 1929, a farmer named Yan Dayusheng was digging a trench near Guanghan. His shovel struck something hard, something that wasn't stone. As he and his son dug deeper, hundreds of jade and stone artifacts emerged, gleaming in the sunlight like treasures from a forgotten kingdom. Word spread like wildfire. Some villagers sold their finds, others hid them away. But a few pieces made their way to scholars, and by 1934, an American missionary and amateur archaeologist, David Graham, led the first official excavation. It lasted less than 2 weeks before bandits and war forced him to abandon the site. The ruins fell silent once more, waiting for the right century to finally tell their story. Fast forward half a century to 1986. Workers at a brick factory stumble upon 2 sacrificial pits that would send shockwaves through the world of archaeology. As they brushed away the soil, golden masks with haunting, otherworldly features stared back at them. They found bronze figures with enormous, protruding eyes and impossibly large ears, as if they were beings from another dimension. There were gold staffs, ivory tusks, jade ornaments, and thousands of cowrie shells from a distant ocean. Towering over everything was a massive bronze tree, 5 meters tall, and a colossal bronze statue of a man, standing 2.5 meters high, his hands reaching for something now lost to time. It was as if we had walked into the middle of a sacred ritual, frozen for 3,000 years. The discovery was so monumental, it was hailed as China's equivalent of Tutankhamun's tomb. But Sanxingdui was older and infinitely stranger. The more scientists studied these artifacts, the more impossible the Sanxingdui civilization seemed. How could a Bronze Age society, hidden away in the mountains of Sichuan, create metalwork that surpassed even the Shang dynasty, the supposed cradle of Chinese civilization? That colossal bronze tree alone defies logic. It has 3 tiers of branches, 9 limbs extending outward, each decorated with birds and serpents. This kind of complex, multi-part casting is a challenge even for modern foundries. Some scholars believe it represents the mythical tree of the sun, where 10 suns once perched before taking their turns to light the sky. Others see it as a tool for a ritual, a cosmic antenna to call divine light back to Earth. Whatever its purpose, this wasn't just craftsmanship. It was cosmic storytelling forged in metal. And then there's the giant bronze man, with his high crown, wide, staring eyes, and powerful arms that once held something precious. He commands an almost divine presence. Was a king, a high priest? Was he holding a sacred staff, a ceremonial tusk, or something else entirely? Every theory just leads to more questions. Metallurgical tests revealed another astonishing fact. The Sanxingdui bronzes contained unusually high levels of phosphorus, a composition that allows molten copper to flow more freely and capture incredibly fine details. The same technique wouldn't be perfected in Europe for another 2,000 years. Where did they learn this? Or did the people of Sanxingdui invent it all on their own? Let's talk about those faces. The wide, staring eyes, the sharp noses, the ears that curve like wings. They don't look like any other ancient Chinese art. They don't really look human. They feel like something pulled from a dream or a half-remembered myth. Ancient texts tell of a legendary ruler of Shu named Ken Kong, the king with protruding eyes, whose sight never closed. Other legends speak of the candle dragon, a divine being who brought day by opening his eyes and night by closing them. When you stand before these masks, you can almost feel those myths breathing again. It's as if the artisans of Sanxingdui weren't just creating art. They were sculpting their gods directly from memory. But while their vision seemed supernatural, their technique was pure genius. They mastered multi-part molds, seamless joints, and precise temperature control. This was the work of engineers, priests, and visionaries. But here's the next big puzzle. Where did they get all the raw materials? The Sichuan basin has no major copper mines. The tons of metal needed for these creations had to come from somewhere else. Isotope analysis of the bronze revealed something extraordinary. The ore was sourced from hundreds, maybe even thousands of kilometers away. Some matched deposits in Yunnan, others in Jiangxi, and a few seemed to originate even further west. This means Sanxingdui wasn't an isolated kingdom. It was the hub of a vast trade network and ancient superhighway of goods and ideas we now call the Southern Silk Road. It connected the mountains of China to India, to the jungles of Southeast Asia, and all the way to the Indian Ocean. This wasn't isolation. This was globalization. 3,000 years before the term was even invented. The hundreds of elephant tusks and thousands of cowrie shells found in the pits are physical proof of this connection to tropical and coastal civilizations. Just picture it. Caravans winding through misty mountain passes, priests carrying sacred knowledge from one culture to another, and ships waiting in distant ports to trade gold, salt, and silk for stories and technologies. The civilization of Sanxingdui wasn't cut off from the world. It was at the very center of a forgotten one. Even their sense of beauty broke all the rules. The golden masks have no parallel in ancient China, but across the world, in ancient Egypt and the Aegean, kings were also buried behind golden masks. Is it a coincidence? Or is it a sign that the human imagination, when reaching for the divine, often blossoms in similar, beautiful shapes? And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it vanished. Around 3,000 years ago, the city of Sanxingdui was abandoned. There are no signs of a massive war, no evidence of a cataclysmic flood, no clear trail of migration. Just silence. The pits where the treasures were found weren't orderly burials. They were chaotic, filled with broken statues, melted bronzes, and shattered ivory. Many artifacts show burn marks, and others were deliberately smashed before being buried. This wasn't the work of looters. Archaeologists call it a termination ritual, a final, desperate act to sever a civilization's bond with its gods, a farewell so absolute that even memory itself had to be buried in the earth. So who, or what, destroyed Sanxingdui? Some theories point to the rise of the Zhou dynasty in the north, which may have conquered the Shu kingdom. Others suggest an internal coup, where a new regime erased the symbols of the old. There is evidence that some survivors migrated and founded the Jincha culture near modern China, where the art, though smaller and simpler, still echoes the same motifs: the sunbird, the gold masks, and the same watchful eyes. And that brings us to the final, most haunting mystery: the absence of writing. We see all the hallmarks of a great civilization: metallurgy, urban planning, a complex religion, but not a single word. Only a few strange symbols carved into jade and pottery have been found, somewhere between a picture and a character. Are these the earliest Bashu scripts, a lost language? Or were they just artisan marks? Did the people of Sanxingdui have a writing system that simply rotted away in the humid climate? Or was their culture entirely oral, their history sung in rituals that vanished with the smoke from their temples? What we do know is that Sanxingdui was not an isolated miracle. It was part of a global tapestry of human brilliance. Its masks may look alien, but its soul was deeply human, driven by the same eternal hunger to understand our place in the universe. When you look into those bronze faces today, you're not just looking at an artifact. You're looking into the eyes of people who, 3,000 years ago, were asking the same questions we still ask. Who are we, and where did we come from? So when you hear the poet Li Bai's famous line, "The road to Shu is harder than climbing to the sky," remember this. He wasn't just describing a mountain path. He was echoing a forgotten truth, that beyond those impossible roads, a civilization once rose, shone like the sun, and vanished into legend. Sanxingdui isn't a story of aliens or magic. It's a story of us, of human imagination at its most daring. It is a civilization that reached for the heavens, and, in doing so, left us not with answers, but with a universe of wonder. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this exploration into the mysteries of the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next adventure. See you in the next video.